And they, I think they owe it to you. They really owe it to you to let you guys know what's going on.
We haven't asked.
They have to want to just come and, we didn't deny it for no, for any unjust reason. It was reasons why.
It was just a conversation that after a meeting.
Well, that's all right.
Talk about the small thing.
No, I never go up. Whatever it is, I never went down I never come up this way. I've been going all the way around to get to the park. But I came up here and like,
Who would have thought we needed Google Maps and one kind of.
I never can get back. I thought about this beautiful homes up there. Oh.
Matt, we're good to go for the streaming. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, start.
All right, it's now 7 p.m. We've established a quorum. We have 5 planning board members. We'll call to order the August 12th, 2020 planning board meeting. I think we have a flag, but please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we ask the members of the public or applicants, keep your mask on while seated. We'll jump right into it with 1918 Pheasant Hollow, 2670 Phillips Road for 10 lot cluster subdivision. Sure.
All right, take my mask off while we're standing here.
Yeah, this is my thought.
So in essence, the map, same map we've been showing you for the last few months here, really over the last 2 weeks since the last meeting we've just been following up with all the involved review agencies, DEC, County Health, County Highway, working with the TDE, Nan and Ed Hernandez, as far as addressing comments and really addressing on the preliminary plat resolution that Adam gave us 2 weeks ago, or the board has given us, just trying to kind of check off as many of those boxes as we can. So I don't really have anything to offer up, only that the last meeting we didn't have DEC sign off and we didn't have County Health sign off, and we received both of those. So.
I think the TDE today sent us, sent us an email that they were pretty good with moving forward. Does anyone on the board have any comments, questions? Review this, in 2019. Do you have anything?
Oh, okay.
No, good.
Have we heard anything recently from neighbors?
I haven't seen any correspondence. I think, as we know, the town board approved the extension of the sewer district. That's been worked through. At this point, it's just subdivision that has to go through the motions. Anything else, Steve? That's it. Okay. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve conditional final plat approval. Pheasant Hollow Major 10 lot subdivision 1918, project 1918, 2670. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Tan.
Roll call as follows, Chairman Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Viola,
Yes.
Ms. Kupiec, yes, Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
Mr. Canton.
Yes.
Motion carried by 5-0 vote.
Thanks.
We're going to move on to Carver Court, Upper Max Road for major cluster subdivision.
use this, Brett, if you want.
I got one here. Oh, you got it all set up?
Yeah.
Good, you got engineering firm Brandon Matt. Know who you are. Good evening. My name is Brett Steenberg. I'm here on behalf of CLCZ Development Incorporated. The proposal for the Carver Court Cluster subdivision. This project's been before you a couple of times. The reason we're here this evening is on July 24th, we received concurrence from the TDE on the conventional layout for the proposed subdivision, using the conventional layout to determine the maximum lot density allowable in the proposed cluster subdivision. As you probably remember from the most recent interaction with this board, we added a parcel on the lower side portion of the Reed parcel to the project. For the primary reason we added the parcel was to establish better site distance and to minimize the wetland impact for the access road to the site. We were able to, in doing that, we incorporated that into the conventional subdivision as suggested by the special counsel for the project, and withdrew the application and then resubmitted the application for the cluster subdivision, including that acreage for the parcel. Overall, with the additional acreage, we have just over 90 acres of property on the proposed subdivision. As you can see, looking at this, and I know it was reviewed by the TDD, we did remove the areas of steep slopes, which you see shaded, and the lighter shading were areas of open space to meet the open space requirements within the standard conventional layout. Utilizing that conventional layout, the TDE as well as we agreed that 110 residential building lots could be constructed on the properties. Moving forward with the cluster layout, as you see here, we've shrank down the size of the lots. There'll be a mixture of 50 to 60 foot wide lots for both twin homes and carriage homes. They've decided the density of either one at this point, how many twin homes, how many carriage homes will be on the site. But that would allow us to retain almost 50% green space on the site. The exact 49% green space on the site. The areas you see shaded in the darker green would be areas that would be dedicated green space, and see the areas of blue, which would be stormwater management areas. Those weren't included in the green space total, since they would be dedicated lots for stormwater management. And we did show an area for an active park at the end of this cul-de-sac, abutting the Girl Scout Council property. We thought that was probably the best location. Possibly there could be some joint activities that could go on there in the future if the Girl Scout Council needed that with the town park area. The other thing we did show, we haven't finalized anything, but I know there were the lacrosse club in East Greenbush was also looking for a property for lacrosse fields. As you can see here, we did show 2 full-size potential lacrosse fields located on this open space, this active open space park. The rest of, we were including this area as an active park area. The remainder of the open space would be passive recreational areas. To meet Appendix D of the New York State Fire Code, we do have to have either an emergency egress or sprinkle all the buildings on emergency egress out to Townsend Hill Road. However, for the most part, we tried to maintain a good buffer along the residents of Townsend Hill Road. Mr. Z had spoken with them several times when they first looked at the property, and gained contract, gained the property under contract, and I believe there was a promise made to them that he would minimize the development as much as possible behind their residence along Townsend Hill Road. So you do see a large area of green space there. And we're maintaining a lot of green space out near Upper Mannix Road as well, which is some areas of stormwater management in and around the wetland areas. What you see is the lighter shaded green. That is the area of the 110 building lots, and you can see that it's about 50% of the parcel when you add in the roadways, so that we're able to provide a good amount of open space, which is the reason and the intent of going for a cluster subdivision. At this point, we'd like to open it up to the board to see what questions you have.
Yeah, so the intent tonight was to essentially accept the sketch plat. My one question would be, I don't heard you, but there's really wet.
There's a lot of wetlands.
Yeah,
Right
and
back in there.
you can see in the darker shaded areas, that's one of the reasons the cluster works well with this site, is there are a lot of wetlands, but we're able to maintain the wetland impacts of less than a quarter of an acre throughout the entire project. And that does include, we do have shown on the cluster, the 25-foot buffer off those wetlands, which is required under the zoning code for no disturbance areas, to make sure that we've got enough area for a house, driveway, and, you know, a backyard without encroaching into that 25-foot buffer.
Now, that road that goes to Thompson Road, that crosses a swamp area.
It does, and there's actually an area where it narrows right down based on our wetland delineation, and that's where we're kind of running it across that area. That road is only required to be 22 feet wide under the fire code, and that's all we're making. We're trying to minimize it as much as possible and minimize that disturbance area. We did take a look at the grades because there are some pretty steep grades in here. We are able to maintain the required 70% grade under appendix.
And would that road be gravel? Or
It would be a gravel emergency access road with enough capacity for fire vehicles.
Is it gated or anything like that?
Probably. Yes.
And I misspoke, the intent was to accept the conventional subdivision, not the actual.
So just to, so the board is aware, in any cluster subdivision, the applicant has to show how it would meet conventional subdivision regulations. We've done that. The TE's reviewed, said that's acceptable, so the intent tonight is to basically show that it is an approvable sketch plat under regular subdivision regulations and that the proceed with the cluster plan.
Will it be a public meeting?
Yes. Yeah, it'll have to be. There is a major subdivision.
What struck me is how many neighbors you have. When I was reading this, before I came to the meeting, if you're going to be in a public meeting, you got a lot of people around, maybe you want to visit and explain what you're doing. I mean, I would. The other question I had is, you said there are carriage houses and twin houses. Twin houses meaning zero lot line firewall between
Yes, correct. Yes.
And you said that was to preserve green space?
Well, it's one of the prototypes that we're identifying for this location, being the narrower lots. Twin homes do work well, and they tend to have a little bit lower construction costs than carriage homes. So we're trying to hit a market point that will allow this to be a place for, you know, for seniors and for people who reside in the town to maintain, be able to downsize and maintain the
Affordable.
property.
You want to-
Affordable. Yeah.
So you have one driveway on the twin houses?
Typically you have two. It's usually separated by, I've seen it separated by lawn strips, I've seen it separated by gravel, I've seen it separated by,
Okay, and there's is there town water and sewer up there?
there will be town water, so we will bring it to the site.
Okay. All right, so you would have potential to sprinkle, but you want that on the site.
We would like that other
Even on
access road.
townhouses, you would consider sprinkling?
gonna be, it's gonna be a lot of drainage there, or is that more or less kind of flat?
There's actually the site is rather rolling, even especially when you get up into here. And obviously with the drainage, we'll need to meet all of the New York State, stormwater design guidelines, and we'll meet that. We have reserved quite a bit of area. All of those areas you see in blue are low areas where we can provide drainage, closed stormwater management system, that will be dedicated to the town, to those stormwater management areas, and those stormwater management areas will be able to have an adequate outlet to wetland channels.
So we're gonna build, it would be wet if you didn't have to provide drainage, right? If you didn't provide drainage, it would be wet there if you didn't provide drainage.
No, it's upland. All of the areas of proposed development are upland, but the drainage that will be provided will be for stormwater runoff.
So are the wetland areas, are they wooded, are there trees?
Yeah, they're forested.
Okay.
Yes, yes, they are.
First time, my first visit. So because Thompson Hill is one of the areas that we determine as a very scenic route in the town, so you're gonna be a bit above Thompson.
So they're actually
They're
lower.
They're
They're
lower.
lower.
They're gonna be behind.
Okay, so you're not gonna get the view.
No.
Okay, I was just thinking because I can
Depends
see a
on
lot
the
of
house.
tree cutting.
That's
Yeah,
a front house.
Okay.
On your conventional layout, you said you're showing the unbuildable areas.
That's right.
Are they both shaded areas, the
Uh,
light and
actually-
the dark?
Actually, the lighter shaded area are the areas that would be deemed as potential open space or potential undisturbed areas under the subdivision law. The darker shaded areas are the areas of
Because it looks like if you compare that to your proposed plan, it looks like you're too far to the west. Looks like you're encroaching on your area that you have shade. It looks like I'm
not-
seeing it properly.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, it's probably a function of the scale. I don't know if this would, if you look at the scale.
So if you looked underneath it, it just seemed to me like it was, it's like it,
See, we over actually the road alignment's actually pretty close.
is it?
Okay. Between the two layouts.
You're meeting the required percentage in a cluster. There's a certain percentage, I forget, I don't know if you wrote on me, that is required, buildable land that's required to remain open space. You're meeting that?
It's 10%, yeah, I have to,
Yeah, I would.
10%. Yeah, that was all calculated out, and I don't have those calculations right here in front of me, and reviewed by the TDP.
It
That
was
would
in
be the areas, shaded in the lighter purple there, were included within the.
At least 10% of the site's buildable land must be included in this area.
What was, so this had an approved PDD, back when I was town employee, what was that, 186 lots?
186.
186 units,
886 units,
you know, condos?
condos and twin homes.
I think what happened was it was written up as twin homes and then they became.
No,
Agreed.
there was a discussion about whether the condos could be multifamily. I was gonna ask, with regard to that, one of the board members talked about the discussions that we had with neighbors. And when we went forward with the 186 unit project, I think that I counted, I had 35 public meetings between town board, workshop sessions, planning board meetings. And out of all those meetings, we had one public resident come in and they lived on Thompson Hill Road. And at that point in time, we did not have a connection to Thompson Hill Road. Because we were, the then highway superintendent accepted a boulevard entranceway into the site. And we had shown, dead end two adjoining properties. We were now told that they did not want the dead end road to the adjoining properties as being to be, potentially to be built at this point in time. So they wanted to be emergency access.
sensitive to the neighbors on Thompsonville Road. What we had presented at that point in time was, because we're going to have, in that case, all the development pretty much as it is laid out here. And there are residents who have homes here on lots that are somewhat smaller. I didn't know if there would be an objection as part of our approval without eliminating lots that we have, that we would donate land to them so that you have, this is going to be ultimately open space. And I thought it might be nice for those residents to, if they wanted it, to expand their backyards. And it would almost be part, almost like a lot line adjustment, because some of these residents, in fact, have put structures on our property.
Yeah, I think that's up to you.
Well, I don't,
Because you were gonna do that with the last project, too, right?
I was going to do that at the last project, but I didn't want it to adversely affect my calculations for open space and the number of lots, because I didn't want to do an adjustment here and say somehow that we're taking an extra lot away from. I just thought that would be something that the residents would like, something that we talked about earlier, and I'm trying to reconfirm things that we had represented before, which was we're trying to minimize the distance. And you have noticed the crossing distance from here to
I mean, are you exactly at the 10%?
We're far greater than the 10% but the cluster requires more open space, I think, requires
25%.
25%, we're almost near 50. The only calculation I think that we would run into an issue with would be taking land that we had utilized as for the 110 lots, calculate that, and taking it out of our project and giving it to the.
Well, if
Yeah, I
there
get
was concern, maybe rather than affect that problem, you could grant them easements to use the land and keep it green and wild.
I don't have that problem, I'm just looking at it as, if I now live in here and I'm gonna have a homeowners association, the homeowner's gonna say, hey, we own this land. We can go right up to the backyards.
So I would leave it up to Brett to figure out how to meet the calculations while he.
I just wanna make sure, I just wanna bring that up, because if you had indicated maybe we should talk to the neighbors, I just wanna make sure that's something that is not going to, say, penalize us with regard to the 110 lots that we show.
I wasn't aware this is an old project before I came on this board, I think, so we've had projects that I never thought anybody would oppose, or I thought from out of the blue they got concerns, so I just like to bring it up to everyone.
Understood, and I said, we had the one resident, and they had stated at the meeting that representations are made with regard to the buffer that we're gonna create, the possibility that they had no objections and they wanted us.
Yeah, again, I would figure out how much land you can give to these neighbors. Once everything is in code.
I didn't know if there was an ability of the planning board to grant any waivers if we demonstrate it now. And then, that we have the numbers, and if all of a sudden we're gonna be 0.5% low because we're donating land to the adjoining property. Because I don't want someone to say, well, you gave them 20 feet and I wanted 20, and I'm only getting 18.
I don't know if the board's in a position right now.
No, I didn't know, I'm just asking generically.
My thought on this is the conventional layout is you're using all the property, but you're establishing 110 building lots. What we do, we're not creating additional lots.
I mean, the intent of the cluster though is for that subdivision to have usable land for the residents.
Right.
Right,
So
so
we
if
have-
we're giving the land to adjacent homeowners to expand their lots, that doesn't mean that.
We will meet the requirements of a cluster subdivision by density. We'll have more than enough usable open space, even if we give this land. We're not creating additional lots, we're just taking land that was utilized for the 110 lots, and rather than making it as open space for development, which we have more than enough of, conveying it to the neighbors on.
Yeah, so I think I already said this. Just figure out as long as you meet the requirements of the cluster, sure, offer them land. That's up to you, it's not our.
Okay.
All right.
You might want to take their temperature first because they might not want to own.
Yeah, like I said, they might get taxed on it.
gonna get taxed.
That's more especially if they now know that there's open space in the backyard.
We'd have to hear from those residents, to understand, like, there'd have to be some kind of agreement with those residents prior to.
Understood.
I just wanted to say it was good.
I opened this can of worms.
That's okay, that's what we're here for.
Right. I just want to explain what we had discussed in the public arena at our last meeting, going back.
Yeah, I was here for them. All right, any other comments, questions? Don, you good?
Good.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion that the Town of Scrimmage Planning Board hereby acknowledges the recommendation of its designated engineer, CTL Architecture Engineering Planning, that the proposed conventional subdivision sketch plat is an approvable sketch plat for lot by lot development and in particular fulfillment of the regulations set forth by Article 7 of the town subdivision regulations. Section 3.8 of the town's comprehensive zoning law hereby accepts a conventional subdivision sketch plat dated July 23rd, 2020, prepared by Brett L. Steenberg, P.E., LLC, the proposed 110 lot cluster subdivision subject to the following. In accordance with section 3.8 of the comprehensive zoning law, an open space area totaling not less than 25% total cluster development site shall be provided in perpetuity for the use and beneficial enjoyment of all residents within the cluster development. At least 10% of the site's buildable land must be included within this area. In accordance with requirements of the residential buffer zone set forth by section 2.6.3 F04A of the town's comprehensive zoning law, a minimum of 30% of the total site area shall be maintained as an undisturbed natural area. Undisturbed natural area may be incorporated into lots, or it may be located in common open space blocks of land. The location and form of ownership of the undisturbed area must be acceptable by the planning board. Planning board reserves its right under section 3.8 that if, in its opinion, little would be gained from the cluster development open space due to the particular aspects of the proposal, the characteristics of the site compared to other opportunities for conservation in the vicinity, the planning board may mandate other amenities and or cash equivalent to improve the area, tie into the local trail system or conservation rights to nearby lands. The cluster layout shall provide suitable buffer areas to adjacent properties. Buffer areas shall include existing natural vegetation and or enhanced landscaping for the purposes of screening or be maintained as undisturbed open space. Future submissions should include aerial photos or mapping for the property, all lands within 1,000 feet of the property line, and the extent of the proposed tree removal or land disturbance. In accordance with the town's subdivision regulations, Article 6, Section 2B2 and 2B7, regarding street connections, the cluster subdivision layout shall be provided at least 2 connections with existing public streets. The applicant shall comply with all provisions of the town's land subdivision regulations and comprehensive zoning. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Booth.
Roll call, Ms. Rowland, Chairman Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Viola,
Yes.
Mr. Kupiec,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
Mr. Panton,
Yes.
motion carried by 5-0 vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Again. Next, we have 2010 Papa 284 Hayes Road for a minor 2-lot subdivision. You hear more than Steve Hart now.
So, back again with the Pappas,
Yep, thanks for coming.
Charles and Packer with me tonight. Per my discussions with Adam, we added 30% undisturbed natural area to the Pappas plan. We're gonna have 2.6, we're required to have, I think, 4.17, 4.19 acres. We're gonna do an area in the back where it's gonna be out of the way, not affect the existing home where it's horsed around, things like that. And then we're proposing to put 1.53 acres of undisturbed space out in front of that 200-foot line that we have to build behind, and leave that whole area out to Page Road as undisturbed area. So that's about the only change we've made to the plan at this point.
So this is property adjacent to, we approved the fourths.
Yep.
Nearly the same thing.
Same thing, just, mirror images of one another.
Ask your question? Straightforward. Sound good? We're gonna take it easy. So with that, I'll make a motion to issue a negative declaration for secret. Whereas the town of East Grimsby Planning Board is in receipt of an application for Charles and Teresa Papa, the owner, for final plat approval under section 276 of the town law for residential subdivision entitled Papa Minor 2-lot subdivision for one single-family detached dwelling unit and one remaining lot, which exists a single-family detached dwelling unit and other improvements consisting of 13.79 plus or minus acres in the RB zoning district located off the Hayes Road, tax map 177.2-3.61. Whereas the town planning board did conduct a public hearing on July 8, 2020 on said subdivision, in which time members of the public were invited to speak in favor of or in opposition of this subdivision application. Whereas on June 24, 2020, planning board initiated a coordinator review in accordance with seeker and in view of the changes proposed according to the amended application. Whereas the planning board has carefully reviewed the development proposal, including the land development application form, proposed minor subdivision plat, short EAF Part 1, and related reports and studies of the project in accordance with Title 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law 6 NY-CRR Part 617, with the potential significant adverse environmental impacts as a result of the action. And whereas mitigation measures as appropriate, this subdivision proposal have either been incorporated into the design of the subdivision and or the condition of the resolution. Whereas the planning board has compared the proposed action against the criteria listed in 617.7 C and is considered the potential long-term, short-term, direct, indirect, and cumulative impacts as per 617.72, and also assess the likely consequence of the action in connection with criteria of 617.73. This is a lot. Resolved that the planning board, upon completion of coordinator review as required by 6 NY-CRR Part 617, hereby declares itself lead agency under secret and reaffirms the classification of the action as an unlisted action in accordance with 6 NY-CRR Part 617. Be it further resolved that based on the environmental assessment and review, the planning board has determined that the project will not have any significant adverse impacts on the environment, and a negative declaration pursuant to Part 3 of the SDAF is hereby adopted. And be it further resolved that the planning board authorizes the chair to endorse the secret determination according to rationale contained therein. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Burke.
Roll call as follows: Chairman Matheson?
Yes.
Mr. Viola?
Yes.
Ms. Kupiec?
Yes.
Mr. Bergman?
Yes.
Mr. Panton?
Yes.
Motion carried by 5-0 vote.
That'd be something to say no after reading all that. So now I'll make a motion. I didn't want to read this one.
So you take the big box.
Yeah. For conditional plat approval, whereas the town of East Grimsby Town Planning Board is in receipt of an application by Charles and Teresa Papa, the owner, for approval under section 276 of the town law of minor subdivision plat entitled Papa Minor 2-lot subdivision for one single-family detached dwelling unit and one remaining lot in which exists a single-family detached dwelling unit and other improvements consisting of 13.79 plus or minus acres in the RB zoning district located off the Hayes Road, tax map 177.2-3.16. Whereas the town planning board did conduct a public hearing on July 8, 2020 on said subdivision, in which time members of the public were invited to speak in favor of or in opposition to the subdivision application. Whereas the planning board acting as lead agency as part of the coordinator review under secret and carefully reviewing the development proposal, including land development application form, proposed minor subdivision plan, short environmental assessment form for the project determined in accordance with Title 8 of the Environmental Assessment Law 6 NY-CRR Part 617, that there will be no significant adverse environmental impacts as a result of the action, and therefore has issued a negative declaration on August 12, 2020. Whereas the planning board has received and reviewed the revised proposal preliminary plat dated June 6, 2020, as prepared by Brian R. Holber, PLS, including review comments from the town planning and zoning department. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of East Grimsby Planning Board hereby grants conditional approval of the Papa Minor 2-lot subdivision for 2 lots in the town of East Grimsby prepared by Brian R. Holber, PLS, dated June 6, 2020, and in strict compliance with each of the following conditions, must be satisfied by the applicant within 180 calendar days of this resolution, unless extended upon written request of the applicant by mutual consent for 2 periods not to exceed 90 days. 1. Outstanding technical details as determined by the town planning and zoning department must be satisfied. 2, prior to commencement of construction, all fees due are paid as required by the town of East Greenbush in accordance with the Western Generic Environmental Impact Statement fee schedule and local law 5/2018, the town of East Greenbush, a letter of which will be provided from the town planning and zoning, or from the director of planning. The extent of the proposed land disturbance must be shown in the plan, subject to planning and zoning department review for conformance with town municipal requirements. The plat must show that a minimum of 30% of the total site area to be maintained as undisturbed natural area in accordance with comprehensive zoning law section 263F04A. And the location and form of ownership, of ownership of the undisturbed area must be reviewed by the planning and zoning department prior to the chair stamping the final plat. Evidence must be submitted to the planning and zoning department that Munster County Department of Health has approved of the on-site water supply and wastewater treatment systems. A copy of proposed ingress and egress easements must be proposed to the town's planning and zoning department, subject to planning board review and approval. All remaining fees must be paid to the town. The applicant shall comply with all provisions of the town's subdivision regulations and comprehensive zoning law not specifically referred to herein. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Anyone else can get?
Roll call as follows, Chairman Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Viola,
Yes.
Ms. Kupiec,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman.
Yes.
Mr. Canton.
Yes.
Motion carried by 5-0 vote.
Good luck to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all very much.
Next, we have 2013, lots 24 and 25, Old Cot Lane, for lot line. Your resolution is significantly shorter.
I was gonna say, if it's longer, I'd be glad to read it for you.
Yeah, I consider going home.
Members of the board, I'm Frank Palumbo with CT&L Associates. This is the location where the shaded area right here is the area in question. This is making a lot line adjustment from one property to the other. It's an agreement between the two landowners simply to give a little bit better access into where the house is located. That's the sole reason that they're making this adjustment. It's a total of 2,874 square feet. This lot goes from 7.1 acres to 7.03. We're talking about 0.07 acres that we're asking to move.
Comments, questions?
I think I'm gonna hold out on this particular project. If you don't mind, until we get the blacktop removed from the church.
I didn't know where we were going with that.
I was wondering, was I supposed to introduce myself as Mr. Variance? That's what it's called.
No, we have a long memory, guys.
So you're just widening that. You're widening that.
Yes, so right here, the line on this, on that side was, on this part, was basically just pushing it over here.
And all the way down to the road.
The same that was approved previously.
Yeah.
Goes.
That's it. That boomerang sliver there.
Yes.
Good with this? All right, so I'll make a motion for conditional approval of the lot line adjustment. Make a motion, Congress Planning Board hereby declares this action as type 2 secret action according to 6 CRR MI 6.7.516 and grants final approval for the proposed lot line adjustment prepared by CT&L Associates dated March 17, 2020, last revised June 29, 2020, subject to the following satisfying outstanding technical details as determined by the town planning and zoning department and all remaining fees we pay to the county. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Pan.
Roll call as follows, Chairman Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Viola,
Yes.
Ms. Kupiec,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman.
Yes.
Mr. Canton.
Yes.
Motion carried by 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
I'll tell Chris Secord to say hi.
All right.
Yours, my own.
He's down there, he is in our group at your office, and he's a great guy, so, you know.
East Greenwich guy too.
Yes, he is. Thank you.
All right, on the 2015 agenda on Discovery Drive, site plan modification.
What's that?
You'll be something.
Okay.
Okay.
You got it.
Kyle Cherry's out parking his car right now, so we'll get into it in a minute.
All right, you better hurry up.
And Dave Yost is the
right,
project
yeah,
manager,
it'll be
engineer
good.
from General on the building 20 project. So I'll just start very briefly. This is what we call the building 85 addition on the Regeneron campus. This is the main building at Regeneron, Redfield Road running up and down the page here, Columbia Turnpike over here. And this is Discovery Drive, leading to the campus. So this is the building, label it building 20, that's what they call it, but when we went through the approval process, it was a building 85 addition, probably how far along, 80% Dave, or
Oh, we're good at 80%.
complete?
Yeah, we're starting up utilities. Still site work.
But the bulk, I mean, the structure's up, you're getting a sense as to what everything's, looking like, and Kyle's here right now. So in essence, I just wanted to give you the aerial map, just so you got an idea where we're looking and reminding us all what project and what additions we're looking at. So basically, what I'm just gonna flip the map over, and really what we're discussing is the fencing that was proposed in front of Building 20. That would be along Discovery Drive, and basically the fencing that we had proposed along the frontage here was a 72-inch black aluminum decorative type fencing, and really we're here in front of you today to propose some black vinyl chain link fence with barbed wire on top of it for security reasons, and Kyle's a lot more knowledgeable than myself as far as why we need to have this, and working with the companies here. So Kyle, I just started, and if you don't mind, I'll put my mask on, and when you stand up, you're able to take your mask off, but unless you want me to keep going, but I know you have a lot more knowledge as far as what
I
you're
think-
able, senior leadership.
We got pretty in-depth about that fence, right? And that was a pretty specific request to get the decorative fence as opposed to.
It was a subject of a lot of discussion.
Now we're gonna get that fence, we're gonna get barbed wire on top.
Black vinyl with three strands of barbed wire. So,
What's up?
what's up?
What's up with that?
There's Regeneron is now working towards an antibody for COVID-19. So there's a lot of interest in that from people that want to do good things and people that don't want to do good things. The desire from Jerry, my boss, Jerry Underwood, Senior VP of Technical Operations, is that we are consistent with our security measures surrounding the property that we manufacture our materials at and the property where we store our materials at. This is one of those properties. We manufacture and store material at the main campus. We won't need it, we're not requiring it for the parking garage, because the parking garage is not where we manufacture material. You have to go across the bridge, and you have to go through an additional security measure in order to access the site. We have replaced a section of fencing along Discovery Drive with the black vinyl three-strand barbed wire. And that is the desire from my senior leadership, is to continue that design around the entire perimeter. We have partnerships now with BARDA. It's public information as well. BARDA is a federal government agency that's, I don't remember what it stands for, off the top of my head, but they're very interested in our anti-COVID-19 antibodies, and they have entered into a financial agreement where they would procure some of those antibodies should it work. They have some pretty significant security expectations for companies that they partner with. This isn't specifically a requirement. I was told initially it was. After digging into it, it's not specifically required that it go to this measure, but this is the measure that I was directed to do. So I'm here to ask you, please let me.
Is this permanent, or is it only on this one drug you're producing? Could there be a solution where the barbed wire would come off after a period of time?
It looks pretty bad.
What's that?
Doesn't look great in the section.
That's true. I mean, black vinyl coated chain link and three strands of barbed wire on top is not very inviting. It's not super pretty, and that's part of the intent, I believe. We've had people that had nefarious motivations come onto our property before, climbing the fence. We want to discourage that as much as possible.
So
site, and it wasn't until we saw them climbing out of the fence that we realized that they shouldn't be there. That was an issue where, there was a car accident on 920, and the people that were, being chased by the police that had the accident, came out of their vehicle and found their way onto the general property. Has nothing to do with COVID-19, this was several years back, but, there are, higher standards that Regeneron is looking to achieve. Our security team is looking to achieve some sort of, I don't know if it's a certification or they're trying to achieve a higher level of security for the site. Security also reports into Jerry Underwood, so that's the strong preference from the head of our security, Bob Jones. Reports into Dan Raggett, reports into Jerry. The direction from Jerry is install this fence. So they're an alternative.
So for instance, at work, in certain facilities that I have in my full-time job, right, we have razor wire at the bottom. Is there a way to do something like that, screen it, think outside the box, just so we don't make discovery drive careful?
Put razor wire and screen it.
I have no idea, I'm not a designer, I'm just asking if there's a different option. It just, this seems like just an option, seems like the easy option, right, but
This isn't easy. It's, we're not saving any money. This doesn't make.
no, I'm not referring to money, but I think three strands of razor or barbed wire on top of the fence. It seems like there potentially be different options.
What is the height on the wrought iron fence or fake wrought iron fences compared to this? Is the height increasing, Steve, for the fence?
Both 72-inch, but I believe this is 72-inch plus 3 strands of barbed wire. That's what we're asking.
So it's probably increasing.
Now, are you putting vinyl slats in the, are you asking to put vinyl slats in the chain link also to block the view? Or just vinyl?
That's not part of the current plan. That's something you prefer.
No, because I'm just concerned about blocking the vegetation that, or the bushes and stuff that we bought for in the front there. Because the fence was in front of that. So you're blocking all of the landscaping that you have proposed in the front. That's why, look, that ornamental fence is, with the landscaping, really is the look that we wanted, or we'd like the campus to look like.
And
that
I
was
like it
before
too,
you have some
and I
issues.
agreed to it, and I said, "Yep, let's go do that. We got plenty more approval to do that.
Yeah,
So
but
this isn't,
What's the security to get the bill?
from where?
You gotta drive back in.
In order to get on site, you can either drive up and swipe a badge like this. If you're driving your car, we have little indicating stickers on there that are picked up by the scanner that will allow you to know who you are. They're all unique. So when I drive my car in, if I swipe my badge, they know it's me. If I drive my car in, they know it's me. They know what time I got there. They know what vehicle I'm driving. If I'm going into the parking garage, which is slightly less secure, we do have some heavy duty sliding gates that can close, but right now we're just using a drop arm.
But then you can't get the bridge.
You can't get to the bridge without swiping through a personnel gate, a turnstile. So you back through the turnstile in order to access the bridge to the road cross.
how high is this fence going to be?
6 foot plus 3 strands. I think the 3 strands are about another foot.
So what I heard was that Regeneron is changing their security posture overall. Would this be the first step in that? Can we expect more of this type of fencing, more lighting, more other security measures to come on board?
We do intend to put in more covered walkways. Those will be lit for nighttime use. We're not intending to put in lighting that will shed out onto the roadway unless you specifically request it. We do want to keep our folks safe, well lit, and protected from the weather while they're traveling between buildings. We are anticipating, actually, we were putting in a test section of the fencing that goes through the woods, of the vibration sensing system. I'm not that familiar with it, but they were gonna test out a section of it. Some people say it works great, other people say it doesn't work well, so we're starting it there. If it works well there without like lots of running from squirrels and whatever, they will look to extend that around the perimeter so that we have a notification if someone's trying to climb the fence.
Is that an option as opposed to barbed wire?
They're doing that in addition to the barbed wire in sections where we don't have direct visibility. You have the ability for additional cameras. You get to a certain distance, so when it's over 300 feet, you need to run fiber. That becomes a significant cost or significant expense. There's a discussion or a desire to run at least a pathway through the woods around the entire perimeter. There's some wetlands that we have to bridge in order to be able to do that. But that's one of these security certification things where you need to be able to walk the perimeter, patrol the perimeter of your entire property in a certain frequency. I don't think we're going to cut down trees and make it a cart path. There's a desire to put in a walking path for that purpose. I'm not responsible for those modifications. I don't know where they stand, but I'm aware that they're considering those options.
I have one question. I don't recall what the elevation looks like in that new addition, but are there any doors or entrances in the front there that would, let's say that they were to penetrate that area, is there any way they could get in? Is there any way we could put the fence like on both sides of the building, but leave that area in front of the building open? Because I don't think there's any doors in the front of that new addition.
Right.
Well, there are doors on the side of the
Right.
addition.
Right, but is there some way that we can gate or do your fencing on the sides of the building and possibly leave that elevation in the front, the way we originally proposed, and still have your security on both sides?
So that people can walk up to the building but not come in because there's no doors?
Right.
Well, yeah, we still need that ornamental fence up there, but if there's no way for them to get in, if there aren't any, oak doors or anything like that,
Right, window.
if they go to the side, they would be able to, the gated area from the side, would be secured on both sides. At least we would have that area, that the new building that you just built with the landscaping and the fencing, the way it was originally planned, we would still keep that look, and you still would be able to secure the sides. And I can understand if you were loaded with doors and windows where you would be concerned about the security, but like I said, I don't recall exactly, but I don't think there's any doors on that front.
Well, there's no doors on the north side of the building adjacent to the
So-
drive.
so even if they got over that
On the
fence-
sides, there's a loading dock
Right.
on the side, there are rain gardens on the side that take a certain percentage of runoff through the rain garden before.
So maybe we could put like a turnstile gate entrance or something on both sides and still be secure, still, achieve what you're looking to do, but leave that front area open with that ornamental fence.
Yeah, but then I would expect we would, run chain link with 3 strands of barbed wire then up to the building. So you would have the ornamental fence, but most likely you see the chain link behind it.
Do you consult a security consultant, or is this just the head of your safety department that made this recommendation?
They have consulted multiple security consultants throughout the last several years, trying to improve this and running projects like this. This is part of the perimeter. We want to have fencing on the perimeter. This is the strong preference of our security team based on their research and their consultants, and it's a directive from my boss to me. So he didn't ask me what I thought. He said do it. So if you tell me no, I'll go back to him and tell him that you said no, and we'll go from
So
there.
we're not planning to take any action tonight, but I would recommend maybe trying to come up with it.
I think Ralph's proposal is reasonable when you think about it, especially since you probably have your windows alarmed, I would hope. And they're probably not operable windows, right?
No, they're not operable windows.
Okay,
Oh,
so,
that's all facade.
Rock is a different operator to those windows, unfortunately. And it's not just, we're not just trying to protect that building. If somebody would climb the fence there, it's protecting the entire
Right.
site. But once they're over that fence, they have free reign, on the rest of the site. And we do have badge swipes to get into
But Ralph's suggesting is you still have fencing on the end. So the building would act as your fence, so to speak, and then you have, and so you would still be protecting the perimeters, but you have the building as part of that protection layer.
I mean, I truly understand the security concern. I just thought that one area, that new building area, that's landscaped with that ornamental fence, if you just put, like what Steve put his red marks on both sides, and, you know, do your fencing on both sides of that, so that at least that one area, when you're driving down Discovery Drive, you still have that look where it's not, you're not in a jail, type of environment.
And I don't like feeling like I'm in a jail type environment.
No, trust me, I mean, I can imagine what you guys are going through with this new drug thing. I'm sure it's
So you look out the window, you're not staring at the barbed wire, you're staring at a nice thing, and then those barbed wire sections are ends there.
And it's meant for us to be staring out the window at the landscaping.
that's
So, I mean, there's a number of security considerations here that we're trying to check the box on a number of them. You want to make sure that vehicles can't smash through the fence. Our executive VP used to work for a company that was actually bombed.
Well, then you want something more than a chain link.
Well, that's,
They would have those rocks there.
we have rocks there.
We know a guy that sells blocks.
Oh, you're trying to
I know a guy that
get
sells
something
block too, so.
Did you ever find that?
We bought a lot of block.
Yes, you did.
Did you ever get those stones for it?
Yeah, I don't know, they were up, I saw them on, Route 9 there.
They're in like Kent or something?
Yeah, up there, we got a memory.
Yes,
Yeah.
Remember, we were talking about,
I remember us talking about, we found quite a few stones. There was a period where we were having difficult time trying to find stones.
Nancy knew about the
Yeah,
blocks.
again,
The big stones.
We looked at a number of different options. We are looking at further upgrades. My boss keeps telling me, find more rocks, let them, start just laying them out. So he's very concerned. We have like, protecting around the power pole coming in where power enters our site. Truck can come take out a power pole that's on a property, adjacent to the property, we want that protected. And right now we have some chain link fences that are for emergency access only. We're looking at upgrading those fences, potentially those gates potentially to, I don't want to say not ballistic but crash rated. 15 tons at 30 miles an hour, stops at 18 inches, that type of stuff. We're considering things like that. So we're going to be spending some more money on bolstering our site security. I don't see it going down. I see it going up as the site becomes more valuable and we're going to use more. And if the antibodies work, you have people with loved ones that are about to die that get very desperate. Very sad situations that may cause for additional concern. We are also worried about or concerned with like drive-by shooting type thing. If somebody has there's a domestic dispute or something like that.
There's holes in the chain link fence.
I know there's holes in the chain link fence, but those are things that were considered with how we design the windows and where the windows start on the second floor and how far back away from the windows people can actually be based on casework. So there's a number of things that we're trying to do. I can appreciate the desire to not have chain link and to go with the ornamental.
So I'm sensitive to your security concerns, right? But we've really gone down into that. So initially it was just talking about pre-strand barbed wire because we're worried about people jumping over it. But now we're talking about preventing bombings.
You asked me if there's other security measures intended to happen. So these are other security measures.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that it's not related to the chain link fence.
That is not related to the chain link fence. No. Those are things that we're looking at.
But the chain link fence may become redundant if you have to expand, and let's say like the White House does, you make that perimeter, so they have to run across a long lawn. So I'm thinking you've got a lot of property, maybe you're gonna have to go to a gatehouse approach where your defense line there is further out from your building, so the building still stays nice looking, but your fencing is further out. I don't know, I think there's a whole parcel.
I think we had to get a variance.
We did, we gotta get,
We don't have a lot of property there for people back to focus on the point, right? So, black vinyl fence, chain link fence with 3-strand barbed wire was the direction. If you guys have suggestions for me to bring back to Jerry, I can do that. I can bring this back to Bob Jones as well. Say the town would really prefer this, so it looks different than the rest of the chain link fence on the property. So can we flex?
I would maybe go back that direction, but I'm only one vote, right? But I know there's at least one other member who's not here, with a similar opinion. But again, anyone else is welcome to speak up.
I'm just hearing that you might need to expand this and that we're going to see a lot of chain link fence with a lot of barbed wire if the need increases as your development.
We have chain link with barbed wire around the rest of the property already.
So I guess
It's scary to think that that's the way the world is today, and 10 years ago, we never thought of stuff like this, but especially in your predicament.
Thankfully, we don't make narcotics or anything like that. There's a lot of people that are very incentivized to break in and do stuff.
So why don't you give us a chance, members, if they have time, to drive past your existing fence, see what it looks like. And then we'll
Okay. I did ask about the garage, that's still the ornamental fence. I asked if that needed to be changed as well, and the answer is no. The intent with this is to provide an extra layer of protection for manufacturing areas and places where we store our products. So that's this, and that's Temple Lane. So right now, we don't have a full perimeter fence around our Temple Lane property due to restrictions of the wetland, but there's pressure to figure out a way to bridge the wetland with some level of fencing.
Yeah, Discovery Drive, I mean, you see a lot of people walking on there, they use sidewalks, they run on there.
You catch a bunch of Regeneron folks speeding through there.
It's nobody out there, really.
On Discovery Drive?
It's not very busy. Well, not
There's people
everyone.
that walking.
Yeah.
Pretty busy around 6 o'clock. Right now, we only have manufacturing folks, some facility folks that, repair things. We have cleaners there, but the vast majority of people are working from home. I'd say like 85% of people are working from home.
Are you recommending we get a police detail on Discovery Drive because we're down on the street?
I mean,
I'm kidding, go ahead.
do what you need to do. I mean, protect people.
We have
A
no
water
power.
feature.
We don't have that.
We need a water feature, a moat.
Both.
So we'll try to get back to you sooner than later, and we'll, hopefully people can buy some points.
I just want to see as much chain link as
There's quite a lot there. I think the black is less, it looks a bit better than like the galvanized. I don't know how the galvanized looks after like 3 or 4 years.
The black coat is better.
How much barbed wire is on?
Lots.
You can't just buy that, you gotta have a license.
Buy barbed wire?
Buying it, put them up there.
Or razor wire, I don't know.
Oh,
I've
razor,
done- I've
yeah,
done
but
some-
razor wire you have to have a license for. I don't think barbed wire you do.
I built a domestic violence shelter out in the woods, and we had similar issues with people trying to stalk the women that were in there and kill them. So I'm kind of familiar with what you're saying, but again, we couldn't get certain types of wire and stuff.
The Constantino wire, I think, is specialty.
Another comment that Matt brought up about putting a strand at the bottom. I mean,
Kind of interesting.
that, I don't know, and that may be something maybe run by your security advisors, because that's, I
That's
never
what we
thought of
start
that, but that would, that would be the first thing they go to do is step on the fence to climb up.
Yeah, but I have facilities where it's, schools, and it goes on a circular, and we do it at the bottom.
Yeah.
So that way, when someone jumps over, if someone were to jump over,
They land in the school.
Is that like?
Oh, you put it on the
Put it
inside?
on the inside?
It goes on the inside?
Yeah.
So the only concern with that is with the landscaping, with the rocks and the landscaping, it's
Weed
very
whacking
limited for
around.
space.
Yeah.
It's very limited for space to add anything additional.
Yeah, I'll mention it again, if we could think outside of the box, if there's another option, I just don't wanna.
I wasn't told to think about options. I attempted to push back and was, pulled back and blame them, so.
So what we could play that guy that town planning board. Jerry's watching, right, Jerry?
I can invite him to come to the next one and speak to it.
Or, and security guy. I'm happy to hear what his opinion is, right? So, I know in my work, we have very secure facilities and, there's a lot of stuff out there that you need to secure. So, it just seems like just throwing up 3 strands.
Yeah, you can go over that with the, $5 welcome mat from Love's.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know what prevents someone still from just getting up, climbing the chain link fence and just jumping over. It's only a 6-foot fence.
That's why we are looking at additional measures.
I think these light curtains and stuff like that, I think are gonna be the way of the future.
So you can't get on site without being seen?
Well, the beam, the beam actually.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The light beam screens, they call them light curtains.
Oh, okay.
Probably the way that you're gonna see a lot of security going nowadays. High enough to where you don't get the animals and, the sensitivity and stuff like that can be adjusted.
It just seems like,
A lot to it.
I'm not trying to get something, but it does seem like an easy solution. Throw 3 strands up there. I'm just reiterating.
If it makes it feel any better, we're fine with the ornamental fence over at the one global facility where my desk is. They don't seem to think that it would be quite secure.
They don't value, they must not value that little office.
Like, oh yeah, it's ornamental is fine.
That's how you learn your value over there. You learn your value pretty quick like that.
This is the situation that I put in. If you guys need to hold firm, I'll take it back to Jerry. Jerry was, when he and I spoke about it, it was a directive. It was not a discussion. I did talk with the security guy, ready to get Jerry to back up on the parking garage and one global view to go back to ornamental for anything to do there. But it was pretty hard and fast. Anything that stores our product or makes our product, he wants black vinyl and 3-strand. If black vinyl is not cheap, then 3-strand. I thought it was going to be a lot cheaper than the ornamental. It was the same price at one global.
And I'm not saying that you guys are taking cheaper, it's just there's different options. It'd be nice to think about it. So you can go back and tell them that, and I don't want to make it a contentious argument, right? Because I've had a lot of back and forth on a lot of different projects over the past 10 years or 11 years, whatever. So you can let them know that we're also going to do our due diligence and drive fast and see what individually see what we can do with the fence.
Can they come at our next meeting?
What's that?
Can you come back to the next meeting?
I can. I don't know if Jerry will be here.
Yeah.
If you want me to try to get Bob Jones to come in, I can invite him.
Sure, if he wants to give us a strong argument as to why he thinks this is a solution, that would be great.
That's what it sounded like.
How far in like say that he, I'm not really disagreeing, may work, it may satisfy his needs, being that there isn't any.
Closer to Red Meadow.
There aren't any doors or any openings.
Yeah, that's the campus talking about.
Yeah, we're not building 20, I haven't been there. Just that it's not, it'll break it up.
Where
driving down
the
and
Cancer
stuff,
Research
drive,
Center is on 9 and 20?
Yeah, you will
It's right
see some
behind that.
landscaping, nice little one that.
That road
There
that
aren't any.
you go down to get to the
any
Cancer Research Center,
penetrations
that's
or anything
Discovery
for
Drive.
someone if you did jump
And
over.
everything on the right-hand side of Discovery Drive is
Penetrate the
right
building, provide some of the security, like you said, on the sides. Just a suggestion.
Have a good night, Kurt.
All right, so we'll plan to see you at the next meeting then. Okay. Appreciate your time.
We're here following directions. You got jobs to do, I got a job to do, and we'll try very hard to do a job. It's been very accommodating and very understanding, and very easy work in the past. We've tried to do the same. I don't expect that to end, so we'll
How's Temple Lane coming?
Thank you, guys.
We started swinging large chunks of concrete for the parking garage this week. There's already a formal construction there. But I've got verticals up and we're starting to walk in over already.
Lights feel like they're not
This is a big project. We're building a big facility there. I'm just coming from a public hearing on the traffic mitigations associated with it. It's like, there is any traffic, what are you guys trying to do here? It's like, there will be, it's coming. But anyway,
So that temporary bridge that you have over the creek, is that, you can remove that over the wetlands? It goes over to the electrical.
over the third act.
No, it looks like a temporary structure, no, we approved that bridge going over. to
I think
the-
it's close to the North Utility Corridor is the one he's talking about.
there are 3 bridges on the North Utility Corridor that are going to
I think it's
stay.
the first one.
Okay,
There's
when you see line 90,
Yeah.
by the electrical, by
If
the,
it's by the electrical, that's off of Lisa's Lane. I believe that we needed that there for National Grid to be over. I don't think that that's permanent, but I'm not sure about it. You want that to be back in.
no, I just was curious, it looks like a real nice structure.
How many contractors do we get on site there?
We're running close to 200 at this point.
Stewart, Stewart's in the morning. Or like
Yeah.
that.
They're not social distancing at Stewart's, and it's becoming a problem. We have very strict rules on site with social distancing, and wearing masks and all your PPE and stuff, and everybody gets temperature scanned, and then they all file in their common vehicle at lunchtime and go to Stewart's and hang out. So we're struggling through this. The whole COVID-19 is very, very challenging for everybody. Trying to
It makes
keep
me feel better. The street sweeper goes to Mobile at 9 a.m. every morning. And he goes by himself.
Okay, good to know. Anything else you need from me?
No, we're good.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle. See you next time.
We have 2 new ZBA referrals.
I'll pick one of them.
You have those, don't you have them? Because I think I put them at the bottom of your packet.
No, I don't have
Well, I haven't done it in a long time.
I don't have.
They're not there? Okay. I'll
No,
have to email them to you
They're
guys.
both area variances, right?
One's a lot line
Yeah, one's for
adjustment.
a shed and one's for
No,
an
we
additional.
wrote,
No, it's not, they're both area variances.
you know, area variance for an addition, and then area variance for a shed.
Which one's closer to my house?
Eight,
Yeah.
one's 8 Hillview, one's 5 Rosebud.
I don't care, I'll pick one of them.
I don't think you should.
Yeah, great.
Nancy gets the area variance, that was super easy.
Thanks, guys.
Who cannot vote on meeting minutes?
So-
everyone can.
So wait, who's got the reports? She's got the 2 of them?
She's
No,
got
no,
8,
no.
she's got 8
She's
Hillview.
got
Okay.
one and he's got one.
Okay.
got the shit.
And he's
Okay.
got 5 Rosebud Court.
Okay.
All right, July 22nd meeting minutes, Allison, very fun job, fine. Some of your best work, I read it thoroughly, at least Joe did, he made comments.
It's always some of my best work.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the July 22nd, 2020 meeting minutes, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Panton.
Roll call as follows. Chairman Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Viola,
Yes.
Ms. Kupiak,
Yes.
Mr. Panton.
Yes.
Motion carried by 4-0 vote.
All right, with that, I'm gonna make a motion to,
Close.
we close.
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 I was 2 for 2, the last 2 meetings. Motion closed, all in favor? Aye. Meeting.
I know, I had them.
You guys came back, you were Frank, I thought for sure that.
Aye.